Breaking. The Prime Minister just had a complete meltdown on live television. And what triggered it wasn't a policy debate. It was one question he couldn't answer. Nigel Farage walked into that BBC studio yesterday with a single mission: expose Keir Starmer's immigration failures in front of millions. And in less than 90 seconds, he succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. If you want to see how one devastating question just shattered Labour's credibility, hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you is already causing panic inside Downing Street. Here's exactly what happened. Yesterday at 2:34 p.m, Nigel Farage stopped debating policy. He turned his chair, looked directly at Keir Starmer and said this: "Prime Minister, 3 weeks ago your government released 1,700 foreign criminals back onto British streets instead of deporting them. Yesterday one of those men, Ahmed Khalil, was arrested for attempted murder in Birmingham. A 19-year-old girl named Emma is now fighting for her life in intensive care. You had the power to deport him. You chose not to. Will you look into that camera right now and apologise to her parents?" The studio went silent. Starmer's face transformed. Confidence became panic. His eyes darted to his notes. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. For 7 full seconds, the Prime Minister of Great Britain sat frozen on national television. When he finally spoke, it wasn't an apology. It was a retreat into bureaucracy. "Well, Nigel, that's a very unfortunate situation, of course, but we need to look at the broader context of our immigration system and the complex legal frameworks that govern deportation proceedings." He didn't say Emma's name. He didn't look at the camera. He looked at his notes. Farage didn't let him finish. That is not an answer. That is word salad. A 19-year-old girl is dying in a hospital bed and you're talking about legal frameworks. Yes or no? Will you apologise? Starmer tried again, turning to the moderator for help that never came. I think what we need to understand is that there are complex considerations involving human rights legislation, and we cannot simply... Farage cut him off, louder this time. Human rights? Human rights for foreign criminals? What about her rights? What about British people's rights to be safe in their own country? That's when Starmer lost it completely, his face flush red. He raised his voice, pointed a shaking finger at Farage and shouted, "I will not be lectured about safety by someone who has never had to make these difficult decisions." It was a catastrophe, not because he was angry, but because he attacked Farage personally instead of defending his own record. Every political analyst watching knew what they were seeing, a Prime Minister melting down because he couldn't defend the indefensible. But here's what makes this exponentially worse. Starmer's team knew this question was coming. 3 days before the debate, Farage's office sent a standard courtesy notice listing discussion topics. Right at the top: criminal deportation policy and public safety. They had 72 hours to prepare an answer. They had 3 full days to craft something that sounded compassionate yet firm. Instead, they did nothing. Senior advisors told The Times they warned Starmer specifically that Farage would use a recent case to attack him emotionally. They literally practiced this exact scenario in rehearsals. And Starmer dismissed it. According to one aide, he waved his hand and said, "Farage is all bluster. I can handle him with facts and figures. The public doesn't care about anecdotes." That arrogance just destroyed him. Within 30 minutes of the debate ending, Emma's parents released a statement through their solicitor. It was short. It was devastating. "Our daughter is fighting for her life because this government chose to protect her attacker instead of deporting him." The Prime Minister had 7 seconds of silence on television. We've had 3 weeks of silence from Downing Street. No apology, no explanation, no accountability. That statement was read live on BBC News, Sky News and ITV. Social media exploded. The hashtag Emma Deserves Better hit 1.6 million tweets in 4 hours. Photos of Emma, a bright teenager who dreamed of becoming a veterinary nurse, spread across every platform. Beside her photo, hospital images, tubes, machines, a life hanging by a thread. Every person looking at that girl knew the truth. Her government chose a foreign criminal's rights over her safety. But the tragedy doesn't stop with Emma. While Starmer was sweating under studio lights, another British citizen was paying the price for Labour's priorities. Meet James Peterson. James is 71. He served in Northern Ireland. He worked in a steel mill for 30 years. He paid his taxes on time for half a century. For 9 months, James has been living in agony. His hip is shattered. He can barely walk from his bedroom to his bathroom. His life savings have drained away on private painkillers just to get through the night. Last week, his NHS surgery appointment finally came through. He packed his bag. He felt relief for the first time in months. Then the phone rang. The operation was cancelled. Emergency capacity issues, they said. But here's what broke him. That same week, local reporters revealed that his hospital trust had just allocated £340,000 to provide medical support for a nearby asylum seeker hotel. Men who arrived in Britain illegally just weeks ago were receiving free healthcare, dental checks and mental health services immediately. Meanwhile, James Peterson, who defended this country, sits at home in pain. His wife, Margaret, told reporters through tears, "I found him crying in the kitchen yesterday, not because of the pain, because he felt like he didn't matter." The contrast is impossible to ignore. A government that claims there's no money to clear NHS waiting lists somehow found £700 million for foreign aid increases and billions for climate initiatives overseas. If you're British, if you follow the rules, if you pay your taxes, you're at the back of the queue. And then something unprecedented happened. At 4:15 p.m. yesterday, King Charles broke 70 years of royal protocol. During a veterans charity event in London, the King was supposed to make brief remarks and leave. Instead, he stayed for 45 minutes. He sat down with veterans. He listened to their stories about NHS delays, about feeling abandoned, about watching illegal immigrants receive benefits while they struggle to heat their homes. Then Charles walked to the podium, put aside his prepared speech and said words that will echo through British history. Those who have given so much to this nation deserve to be treated with the dignity and priority their service has earned. We must never forget who built this country and who defended it. Never. He was looking directly at the camera, almost as if he were looking straight at number 10 Downing Street. Palace insiders revealed Charles had personally intervened with Downing Street 3 times in recent weeks, asking them to prioritise veterans in NHS care. 3 times, Starmer's team dismissed his concerns, so Charles took his message public. Before leaving, he announced a new Royal Foundation initiative. £10 million from his personal duchy funds to provide private medical care for veterans facing critical NHS delays, to pay for hip replacements, surgeries and treatments that men like James Peterson had been denied. The announcement was met with standing ovations. Tears streamed down the faces of families who had felt invisible. But inside Downing Street, absolute horror. Because the King just did exactly what the government refused to do. He put British veterans first. It was the ultimate vote of no confidence. Within 2 hours, the markets reacted. The pound dropped. By late afternoon, £2.4 billion had been wiped from the FTSE 100. Within 4 hours, that loss doubled to £4.8 billion. The Bank of England had to issue a rare evening statement expressing confidence in UK stability. Ask yourself, why would they need to issue that statement unless confidence was collapsing? Inside the Labour Party, the fractures exploded. Transport Secretary Louise Hay, who just last week called Farage's concerns racist scaremongering, deleted her Twitter account entirely. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper cancelled 3 scheduled TV interviews when reporters cornered her outside Parliament. She literally ran to her car. Then came the polls. Labour's lead over Reform UK, once a comfortable 18 points, collapsed to just 4 points in a single afternoon. In the Red Wall constituencies, Reform UK is now ahead by 6 to 8 points. Online, hashtags like #StopTheInvasion trended in the UK for 7 straight hours, generating 2.8 million tweets. In Birmingham, where the attack took place, over 3,000 people marched to the city centre chanting Nigel Farage's name. These weren't extremists, these were mothers, pensioners, ordinary Britons. Many of them traditional Labour voters who felt betrayed. Inside Labour headquarters, the atmosphere turned toxic. Ministers are turning on each other, and Angela Rayner was overheard saying, "The Prime Minister isn't listening to anyone anymore." Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, allegedly stormed out of a strategy meeting after Starmer rejected her advice to announce emergency deportation measures. She was later seen in the Commons tea room with backbench MPs, taking notes in a private notebook. Political veterans know exactly what that means. She's counting votes for a leadership challenge. And it gets worse. WhatsApp groups with names like Real Labour and Save the Party are coordinating behind Starmer's back. Over 40 Labour MPs have joined these channels in the last 24 hours. They're not discussing policy anymore, they're discussing timing, when to move against him. Yesterday evening, Labour MP John Ashworth was caught on a hot mic speaking to a colleague. He's finished. We're just deciding whether to let him bleed out slowly or finish it quickly. Let that sink in. Let him bleed out. Starmer knows he's surrounded. Sources say he looks exhausted, paranoid and isolated. This morning, he reportedly demanded loyalty pledges from his top ministers, asking them to sign written statements of support. It's the behaviour of a leader who knows his time is running out. But the most explosive revelation is still to come. Leaked documents obtained by multiple sources suggest the Home Office has been systematically lying to the British public for months. One internal email dated March 15th, sent from a senior Home Office official, explicitly states, in cases where deportation eligibility is borderline, err on the side of allowing the individual to remain. The minister has made clear that the optics of deportation flights matter more than raw numbers. Read that again. Optics matter more than raw numbers. If these documents are authentic, Starmer didn't just make a mistake. He created a policy that prioritised his party's public image over the safety of British citizens. The documents allegedly identify at least 47 specific cases where deportation was recommended by law enforcement but blocked by political appointees. People convicted of aggravated assault, drug trafficking, sexual offences and violent crime. They're walking your streets right now because removing them would look too harsh for Labour's voter base. Meanwhile, while Starmer hides, Nigel Farage is staying calm. Last night in Birmingham, he held the largest reformuk rally in history. Over 5,000 people packed the arena. The British people deserve a government that puts them first, Farage told the crowd. Not last, not after illegal immigrants, not after foreign criminals, first. The crowd wasn't angry, they were hopeful. For the first time in modern British history, Nigel Farage isn't just the protest candidate, he's the alternative. The latest polls confirm it. Conservatives, 29%. Labour, 23%. Reform UK, 26%. We're looking at a three-way race. If an election happened today, no party would have a majority. Complete political chaos. The next 72 hours are critical. Reform UK has called for an emergency parliamentary debate on deportation policy. Labour is trying to block it, but backbench Conservatives are threatening to support the motion. And Buckingham Palace just announced King Charles will deliver an unscheduled address to the nation next Tuesday. The topic hasn't been announced, but insiders say it concerns national unity and shared values. Translation, Charles is preparing to remind Britain what actual leadership looks like. This isn't just a political scandal anymore. This is a constitutional crisis in slow motion. At its centre stands Keir Starmer, a Prime Minister living on borrowed time, a man who thought he could ignore the voters and face no consequences. He was wrong. So here's the question, does Starmer survive the weekend or is his government finished? What do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you, if you believe the British people deserve the truth, share this video with everyone you know. Hit that subscribe button right now because tomorrow we're revealing the full text of the leaked Home Office documents that prove Labour has been lying about deportations for months. The next chapter could bring down the entire government. You don't want to miss it.